Now let's turn our attention to two of the structured query language advisors that are built into Oracle Database 12c Enterprise Edition with the appropriate packs licensed and available to go. The SQL Tuning Advisor, in a nutshell, provides us DBAs with advice on how we can increase the performance of our SQL statements. SQL is the language that we use to interact with our data, so SQL is flying around the server all the time. Now, of course, we're concerned specifically with what Oracle calls high-load SQL that creates contention in the database. Now, this is contention of any level. This could be resource consumption. It could be CPU, memory, disk, or network. It could also be contention among sessions. Bottom line is, inefficient SQL that's not properly tuned, will significantly degrade the performance of your database, and that's not going to make anybody happy. So our task here is to use some of these advisory framework tools to identify high-load SQL and have Oracle analyze it and give us suggestions as we investigate them. Okay, and we can use Tuning Advisor and Access Advisor. They have different purposes. To get into the Tuning Advisor, I think I've mentioned this in the previous lesson, we can be suggested to run it on particular statements by looking at active session history or ASH top activity. We have our top SQL, you might remember, and that will give you a targeted link on the specific SQL statements that Oracle considers to be high load, and will recommend that you run Tuning Advisor right from there. That's a great, neat thing about Cloud Control 12c. ADDM findings will also give you recommendations when ADDM determines that a particular SQL statement is consuming too much time, too much resources, etc. You can also create what are called SQL tuning sets. A SQL tuning set is a named and saved object that is essentially a collection of SQL statements that you can analyze and tune as a bunch. You'll find in the Oracle literature the term workload. It's not necessarily always a single SQL statement in isolation that may be in need of tuning. It may be a number of related SQL that runs as a bunch. Now, you'll notice the term SQL profile coming up a lot as well. This is tied in with the execution plan. As you probably know, it's beyond our scope actually to get into SQL as such. There's another certification exam, and we have courses here at Pluralsight specifically on SQL in general and tuning SQL in particular. Okay, I think I've said that correctly. But the ability to customize how Oracle processes SQL using what are called query hints, for instance. We can also have Oracle create a SQL profile that consists of a subset of statistics that are related to a given SQL statement. So Oracle can use that as a cliff notes, so to speak, when it calculates an execution plan for a SQL statement. You see? So we've got some vocab terms that you need to keep straight. Tuning Advisor is the tool, is the advisory framework. The tuning set is a collection of SQL that you create that represents a workload that you could submit to the Tuning Advisor. And a SQL profile is something that can be created and stored and given to Oracle for use when it calculates execution plans.